Now, the next topic we talked about was multiplication. After addition and subtraction, we go to multiplication of these fractions. Remember, we are just trying to play about multiplication of these fractions. Not fractions, decimals. Of these decimals. Now, the first multiplication we tackle is when you multiply a decimal by a multiple of 10 and also a multiple of 100. Now, what it means is I have a decimal, for example, 2.6 times 10. This means when I'm multiplying by 10, I'm going to make this number bigger. What I do and what we learned in class 5 is that first make this number a fraction. How do you make it a fraction? By remembering that if it has one decimal place, the number after making it as a whole number, it will be over 10. Then you can now multiply it by your 10. This 10 comes down. The 10 here that we've put is just to make it as a fraction. That is, I'm trying to rename this fraction. But remember that 2.6 is the same as 26 over 10. So when I multiply now, I can simplify because you know how to simplify using a common factor. Here, I've just divided 10 divided by 10 is 1, and 10 divided by 10 is 1. So that my answer will be 6. Now, I can also do another one, which will be 2.67. And then I multiply with the same 10. This tells us that the number here has 2 decimal places. The first example had only 1. So this, since it has 2 decimal places, then the 206 after making it as a whole number will be over 100 because 2 decimal places are represented by 100. Then you multiply by the 10. Remember, like I said there earlier, that this number 2.67 is the same as 267 over 100 in the fraction form. So then after changing it to that, or renaming this fraction to this, then you multiply by 10. Now I can simplify, and it will remain to be 267 over 10. Now, meaning when I'm dividing my 10, I can now use the long division to divide by 10. 2 divided by 10 will be 0. Then I consider 26. 26 divided by 10, I'll take 2 because of 20. Because 2 times 10 is 20. Then I take away. I drop my 7. So 67 divided by 10 will be 7 because of 67. No, it will be 6 because of 60. 7. Then, like we discussed yesterday, I drop a 0 from heaven, and this will be 7 because of 70. Just want to leave to make sure that my numbers are over. So my answer will be, sorry, I forgot to say that before you drop, you must put a decimal to show that you're adding another 10. So that the answer will be now 226.7. 26.7 is the same as 267 over 10. Now, I can also multiply that number 2.6 times a multiple of 100. Here, the same thing, I can rename the decimal and becomes 26.10 because it has only one decimal place. Then I multiply by 100. Then I simplify. Then I'll get 260 because when you're multiplying a number by 10, you just need to add a 0. Now, instead of using this method or this wrong method, I can use the shortest way possible of doing the same, shortest method. What do I mean by talking of shortest method? In multiplication, for example, 2.6 times 10. What I do is first make this as a whole number. And it becomes to 26. Then I multiply by 10. Remember, if I'm multiplying any number by a multiple of 10, I just get the number, which is 26, then I add 0 if I am multiplying. Now, we said the shortest method is to get the 2.6 and change it to a whole number, and you get 26 times 10. Then we said that when you multiply by 10, the number becomes bigger. So you get 260. But remember, initially, this number had a decimal. And since this number, as we said yesterday, has a natural 0, then a decimal, then if you're to write now this number, you have to move now the decimal, because it had an initial decimal, one step from the right going to the left, so that your number now will be 26.0, which is the same as 26. If I was to do the same, another question using a multiple of 10, for example, 34.789, and I'm to multiply by 10, by 100. Remember, the first thing is to change this number to a whole number, which is like that. Then when I multiply by 100, I'll just be needed to add my zeros. Then my answer cannot be this one, because the initial number had 3 decimal places. And since we said that any number has a decimal at the end, then I'll need to move this decimal towards the left 3 places. That is 1, 2, and 3. So my end decimal will end up being at that particular position. So my answer will be 3,478.9. This means when I was multiplying by 100, I have made this number here bigger by 2 steps to the right. So always remember that anytime you are multiplying any number by either 10, 100, 1,000, you move the decimal 3 steps or 2 steps or 1 step according to the multiple to the right.